RotoGrinders, an hour and a half of NBA DFS conversation. It starts now. I have a case of the Mondays instantly because the news for Jokic just dropped. Nikola Jokic officially out tonight, and I'm so tilted for so many different reasons. I was just talking in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, jump in the NBA conversation. I said, look, Jokic is going to sit tonight. I know he's had some cues like throughout the season, and or whenever he has the cues, he typically plays through them. This is the back half of a back-to-back with travel, and it's a third game in 4 nights, and they're backup DeAndre Jordan, and the game is in the LA Clippers. This was the most obvious rest spot. I believe he even had a probable tag last night, which you don't really give guys probable tags unless you're planning on doing something goofy. Like some teams handle that differently, and I'm so mad that I didn't bet the Clippers last night at 3.5. Oh, Tim, I'm just burning money over here. And this is the Island game. It's all by itself. And I had a whole stand where I think Jokic sits, and I was going to make lineups like, what if Jokic sits tonight? Not that I'm thrilled at the prospect of playing DeAndre Jordan.
I've never heard you so fired up, though, pre-show. I mean, you were actually mad. You lost so much value by not doing what you wanted to do. And now I was gonna build my fantasy team as if Jokic was out too, and now it's just ruined. The whole slate's ruined.
Well, see, the thing, some of the people in the Discord channel were like, "Yeah, he's gonna play. He usually plays through him," and I think most people would just assume he's gonna play. He was currently in projections as if he's gonna play. You're not gonna make a ruling. You're not gonna assume he's gonna sit unless it's doubtful. And there was you could say it was a 40, 50, 60% chance he was gonna play, but. It's just, and also Vegas was kind of telling you 7.5. And it opened, it was a 3.5 last night. Then I was staring at it at 4.5, and I'm like, let's see. And I just didn't, this whole sports betting thing now in Florida, it's tilting me even more because I'm staring right at an awesome bet last night, the old closing line value. They haven't won just yet, but you got to think the Clippers are going to be at least 9-point favorites here. Gordon also out too for Denver. This game is on an island. It's all by itself. I was just hoping for this news to drop. Sometimes it drops an hour and a half before 9 o'clock East Coast time, New Orleans, Utah, then 10:30 Denver and the Clippers. And I was just hoping this news to drop at 9:01, and everybody's just kind of staring at each other. And the worst predicament would be to have just Jokic and nobody else. I guess there's some upside to that theoretically, but the downside would be immense because who do you swap him out for? I guess you can.
Well, you'd have to put 2 guys from that game in your team. That's what you have to do. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was sort of talking about. I was setting up some 2v2s or some 3v3s on the what if, and you were saying as well, as I'm mid rant and I'm all fired up. Hey, what's up, chat? Hey, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things. They let you know when we go live. You might have liked it. Well, why are they not at 5 o'clock? Well, the notification didn't drop until 5:30 because it's a short slate. It's just a 5-gamer. Yeah, and we're taking all the way up the block. Crunch time comes in. You get the Taylors. You have Roth as well coming in about 6:25 or so. But so you had the same strategy, but I guess maybe I don't know if you had the same conviction, or maybe you're just a little more cool under the conversation. You're a little better tempered than I am. But yeah, I am fired up because you know what? You know why I'm fired up, Tim? Because a lot of times you have these angles and you have these stands, and they're not right. You're just wrong, and that's okay. It's you're taking a stand, you're wrong, and you live to see another day, and you get back at it tomorrow. But I actually had the right read, and I did nothing with it. I wasted it. That's why I'm telling you.
Yeah, I was gonna build a 2v2 in that last game. Have Jokic, then go down to Michael Porter Jr. and then have either a Clipper or another Nugget and go up or down from there. But that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna build a 2v2 in that last game because I'm not saying I agree with you. I was kind of leaning that he was going to be out, but in the chance that he was going to play, I thought he was going to be pretty low owned because people weren't going to want to risk it, and I always want to play Jokic. So sure. I was kind of just building in that 2v2, but now it's going to be Michael Porter Jr., mega chalk night.
10 points, by the way, the line's 10 now. So it was kind of baked in.
Yeah.
They were sort of hedging when they moved to 7.5 and he got a midday downgrade. But the one bet I did get in, and this is going to backfire too, was Michael Porter Jr. over 17.5 points, which I'm sure that's going to go up. But the blowout rises, and he's also if you watch the games, he's not a guy that really creates. He's not a great shot creator. He can do it, but not really. He's not. That's not his elite skill. Jokic gets him a lot of shots. because he gets everybody
Right.
a lot of shots in that game on that team. But whatever shots Arjax is getting him, they're not going to be as good. But that's the one bet I got in, and I'm so
we're getting plenty of Reggie Jackson revenge calls in the chat right now.
Well, are they forgetting DeAndre Jordan? I don't know who's more vengeful amongst those two. And certainly DeAndre Jordan has had a better career for the Clippers. His numbers not going in the Raptors, but it's certainly more likely to go in the Raptors than Arjax. If you got to throw one up there, you're throwing up DeAndre Jordan, and I assume he draws the start tonight. I don't know how many minutes he'll play. We actually do have.
We had an if then for Jokic, and Jordan goes to 24 minutes. Yeah. That's, I don't know. There's a lot of good centers tonight, man. I don't know if I want to do that. There's a lot of really good centers.
There's another one in this game that, like, if you want to play the blowout angle, that could be kind of interesting too. I guess we'll talk about a little bit of maybe the chemistry between Daniel Tice and Westbrook. And again, if this game kind of blows out, he's a cheap center, more so a DK play than a Fanduel play. I think he's 4-5 on Fanduel. Large field, sure, I suppose, but not single entry, 3-entry cash game, that kind of stuff. But all right, big picture as far as this slate, I guess. Are we told that not as important? But I think Cam Reddish was just ruled out. Yeah,
was he really?
Reddish,
I missed that.
Yeah, he's got a groin.
Reddish.
So he's not.
Yeah. So the Lake. That's actually pretty big news, I think, because
Max Christie.
Yeah, but also like the Lakers are gonna have 8 guys, right? They're not gonna play these creative players here, like they're not gonna play those guys. They're gonna have 8 guys.
I think I'm checking the court IQ. I'm pretty sure they played 8 last game versus Cleveland. Davis, James, Reeves, Prince 4, Russell 5, Christie 6, Hayes 7, Wood 8. Wood played 17. That was the least amount. Hayes played 21. Everybody else played at least 32, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
Will they introduce a 9th person? Maybe not. But that's a good point.
I don't think so. Look who those people are. Have you heard
I don't believe Alex Fudge is Alex Fudge is not a person. That's not a person.
I mean, I would love to see Alex Fudge enter the game, but I'm not expecting that.
I want producer Steve to put like 3 pictures of humans on the screen, and I want you to tell me which one Alex Fudge is.
Right. I honestly don't know who any of those people are on that Lakers bench. So do you? I mean,
Maxwell Lewis. Okay. Yeah, Jalen Hood, JHS, we'll call him. Yeah, I don't. And
there's Alex.
Hodge?
There's Alex Fudge.
There we go. Can we get Demoy? Hold on. Can we get Demoy Hodge? That's
Demoy Hodge.
Apostrophe MOI Hodge. Can we get him up on the screen as well, producer Steve? Let's see how on top of it. Probably a tricky Google at first, but I'm just looking at the roster. But another person, I follow the NBA. Like we follow this stuff a lot, and I have no.
I know.
There you go.
That's my point. And I have never heard of those 4 people that are on this Lakers bench. So they're only gonna play 8 guys. It's gonna be 8-man rotation, and like Taurean Prince is gonna stand in the corner. Right. So it's really, this is a really, really good D'Angelo Russell spot, in my opinion.
Tough matchup overall.
I don't know. Like he's pretty cheap though. He's 6,300 on DK. I really like Austin Reeves a ton.
They insist on keeping him off the bench. And that's our first game, isn't it? Is it not our first game? I believe it's our first game. It is our first game. We should set it, I suppose.
It is our first game.
Let's kind of dive in. It is a 5-gamer, right? 60% of the slate starts at 7:00. Starts right out the gate. There's the game in the middle, which is New Orleans and Utah. That's 9:00. They're running it back. They played a couple days ago. And then there's Denver. This time we're going to see Zion. Zion's going to play. He didn't play last time. He had the rest. He's been awesome of late for what it's worth. There is no marketing for Utah. I believe Clarkson was sick that last game. He's expected back tonight. Probably gets covered by Herb Jones. I'm not a big who's covering who guy, but just sort of note, I don't really want my guy to be covered by Herbert Jones there in the half court. And then the aforementioned Denver Clippers game, 10:30, Denver back-to-back, third and four nights, no Jokic, no Gordon. Wasn't there somebody else that was Murray's going to come back soon, maybe within a week or so. We'll see, maybe less. I think they gave him day to day. So he's coming back.
I think he'll be back in less than a week, but he's not going to be back tonight.
Yeah. His return is imminent. This is DFS, Tim. We care about today and today only. Why will we even bring that up about Jamal Murray? Right? What's the point? We want to win tonight.
You were the one that brought him up.
Oh, is that on me? I guess that is on me. That's my bad, I suppose. But yeah, 3/4 of the slate starting right out. No, 3/5, 60% starting right out the gate. Lakers versus Philadelphia. We're probably going to get an 8-man rotation. Do we have an if-then? Let's see if we had a couple if-thens, right? We have one for Jordan Poole. Well, we did have an if-then for Cam Reddish. Let's see how many. We actually have a couple hedge minutes for what it's worth for Maxwell Lewis. They gave him 2, and that's, I assume, like the just in case Maxwell Lewis enters the rotation.
So they I guess they slightly disagree with me then, but yeah, that's basically what I said. So sorry I missed the 2 minutes on Maxwell Lewis, Dean. I apologize. I also apologize to everyone in the chat.
I apologize to everyone in the chat for not knowing who these Lakers are. My bad. We're being enlightened here. Michael's telling us that let's see. He's saying that they were good college players. Well, I guess they kind of have to be, right? And otherwise they wouldn't. But yeah, I guess Lewis and JHS were legit college players, and Hoosiers Hang Banners is telling us at least one of these players was a Hoosier. Which one? I don't know. I think Fudge.
I believe he was referring to Fudge. Mr.
There you
Fudge.
Go. Well, adjust your projections accordingly. Yeah, we're giving 38 to Davis, 36 to LeBron. By the way, isn't LeBron still officially questionable? Can we stop with this nonsense with this game? Like maybe one time, it might happen once, maybe twice, maybe. But like they keep giving him this nonsense, this false Q tag for LeBron. Like he's playing, right? Like is there? Did they officially say he's playing?
I would assume that he's playing.
They keep doing this dance with him, like Jordan Poole game time decision. By the way. I did not play that night, but did you play the night of the Jordan Poole fiasco?
I sure did, and I had Jordan Poole on. On both Fanduel and DK.
I don't want to be the guy that like defends the team. I don't want to be the guy that defends the Wizards of all teams. I don't want to do that. But this is an NBA problem. This is not a Wizards problem. This actually happened legitimately, like a legitimate injury in the warm-ups. What time was the warm-up though? It was after lock because. I don't know how the sites get. Like, I don't want to go on the. I've already one rant. Smash the over on rants. If you had a half or 1.5, you got the alt rants. 1.5 is paying off as well. But I mean, baseball figured it out. Other sports, when football games are kicking off. NBA, it's like, we're gonna start. I don't know, maybe 7:03, maybe it'll be 7:08, maybe 7:10. I don't know. Let's just lock everything down at 7 though. They were just doing their warm ups, and they got hurt in warm ups, and that's that. And there's nothing you can do. So. The official start time, 7 o'clock. I don't know why that is the way it is, but if you're going to partner with DK, if you're going to partner with these sports betting sites, get that right. There's a lot of people that care. They probably wouldn't be watching your product if they're not invested in this way. It's just the way it is. You can't have it both ways. You can't take the money and not also appease, right? Are you with me, Tim?
I agree. I don't understand why they can't just start the games at 7. That's what MLB does. Game starts at 7.
MLB does 7:05, and I think part of that is because national anthem, they sort of bake that in. But 7:05, or some ballparks 7. Toronto, the Blue Jays, you got to account for. I think it's accounting for the Canadian national anthem, so they account for that. So it's like 7:07 or 7:08. But yeah, and every single time, you know exactly when that lock pitch, boom, within like 5 seconds, whatever it is. Okay, and I think everybody's like on board with this one, but. It's an absolutely egregious thing. Like they know this. They just don't care. They just don't care. And part of it is like ESPN starts their games at different times and TNT starts their games at different times. And if you're not national TV, it's like, well, whatever. They'll hang out in the studio for 15 minutes when it's national TV. So I think ESPN actually starts like closer to lock. And that's the tricky part because if they actually move lock back to like, let's make it 7:07. Sometimes the game's going to start at 7:05 and like, this guy has hit 2 threes. Jam him in the lineups at 7:06. And then all of a sudden the slate is broken and whatever. Okay, we have this time to go off on the little rant because it's just a 5-gamer. Do you want to give anything like a big screenshot overview with the news coming in? Let's see if we have a new projections and all that as far as big picture and lineup HQ. I know we had the if then, but yeah, okay. I think we can run stuff as far as projections too and seeing ownership is not updated just yet. So ownership, ignore it. It's just as of 3:00 and that's going to change. We'll get it at some point.
Have projections updated?
Yes. Projections have been updated. So that's more important, I think. And we'll get the ownership later on. But yeah, give me your big picture screenshot. I just ran quote unquote optimal lineups. The very first lineup is 3 Lakers, 4 Denver players. Oh my God. There's another one that has 5 Lakers and 3 Denver players. And it's all over the place. But yeah, it's Lakers and it's Denver guys, because we're expecting, like you said, you kind of talked about the 8-man rotation, super tight rotations for the Lakers. But that is what we're seeing. And we're also seeing like some real trash hitting, like Isaiah Livers at 17 points projected to hit lineups, because it's just like, stud and dud. Justin Holiday, who I believe hit. You want to guess Justin Holiday's usage on the season? You want to take a stab at it? I was looking at it earlier today.
10.
Lower. It's lower than single digits. Come on. 10.
Oh, really? 7?
I believe it's like 8.5.
Okay.
I was digging in this, but he's going to play a lot of minutes, right? What do we have projected minutes as far as we haven't projected for 32 minutes?
32 minutes. We have projected for 32 minutes and 20 DK points.
It's a slow crawl for him. So 0.57 fantasy points per minute on the season. Usage 7.97. I didn't do like on-off stuff and like, kind of like whatever, but maybe it probably goes up a little bit.
I know we're not going in order here, but somebody just brought up Strother in the chat, and I think that's a really good large field GPP play. Julian Strother. If you want to play this blowout angle, which I think there's a very good chance now that this game blows out. We haven't projected for 18 minutes. If this game blows out, I bet you he's going to be playing more than that. Like, I bet he could get up to like anywhere like 25, 26. So, I hate the idea of playing Holiday unless you're like maybe just playing cash games. Maybe that's okay.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I hate it.
I'm not going to play Holiday in my single entry team. I'll just pass. If he beats me, he beats me. But I just wanted to bring up Strother real quick because I think that's a guy we have to keep in our player pool if we're making multiple teams tonight.
18% usage on the season, 0.76 DK fantasy points per minute. They have other dudes, just like for the record, they have a bunch of guys. They still have like 12 people. So like, I was thinking maybe Christian Brown could be interesting, but I don't think he mops up. Like if this game gets ugly, I think he's like almost too good to mop, right? Strother, Gillespie, there's a person named Hunter Tyson, a Braxton K. I swear these guys are in the NBA, like for real. Zeke Naji, Peyton Watson could be an interesting mopper potentially. Yeah, it's they have a lot of people. Just that's the only caution I would throw up there. And like it's probably not going to fully blow out, but it may. It certainly can. Okay. Big picture wise, what else are we seeing? We're going to break it down game by game. We're going to do the thing. But
so
Eric,
before we got that news, I was kind of like, how can I jam in, a Joel Embiid or a Jokic or an Anthony Davis now I'm looking at this DeAndre Jordan, Justin Holiday, Max Christie mess. Okay. Like,
but you get 2 or 3 studs, right? Or 2.5 studs?
Right. But I also see this tremendously loaded mid-range, and I see this tremendously loaded balanced build approach also. That's probably going to get you off of quite a bit of ownership.
Ownership just updated. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's just updated. Give the old lineup HQ a refresh. I'm curious to see where we're at and things, but go ahead, continue.
Okay, yeah. So, Trying to see what's DeAndre Jordan's ownership. Like
I bet it's like at least
47
25%. Well,
it's 47%.
It's the most minutes he's
Ooh.
played this year. Like, obviously,
boy.
we haven't seen this scenario before, but I'm just, how many minutes can he play is basically what I'm asking. Can he play 25? He's played 12 in a game twice.
Yeah. So I just don't want to. So he's 31% on FanDuel at 3,500. I mean, this is ugly.
And what does he do? Like, he's just going to stand by the basket and like try to, he'll get some rebounds. He can compile rebounds. He'll get some dunks. Can he still get up for the alley oops? Like, remember the old school, like wasn't there like a nickname for like, what did they call it? Like, was Blake and Paul and Jordan? Didn't those guys have a nickname? Or am I making that up? When they played together for the Clippers when they were all fun. You know what I'm talking about?
I've got no idea. Nothing. I got nothing.
Maybe the chat can help me out. Maybe I'm just making something up, but yeah, I don't know how many minutes he can. But also the other part of it, maybe I don't know how many more years he's got left in the league. This could be his last game ever in LA, where he shined the most, and like maybe that's the angle they work in. Who knows? I assume he's going to start. He actually did seem to jump ahead of Zeke Naji last game in the rotation. Like sometimes you would see Zeke, be like the backup center, but I think Jordan's going to start here. He's got to start in LA. Like he kind of has to. Like, whatever. I assume he's the starter.
He's going to start. Yeah,
but he might just go away. Is the problem. He might go away. Is the problem. And he's not a hopper. I don't think we're giving
Najee 18 minutes.
Lob City. Thank you, chat. There you go.
Lob City. All right, there we go.
There you go. Yeah. I think he's a little girthier these days, a little bit older these days. I guess we're all a little bit older. Some of us a little girthier too, a little huskier. But yeah, shout out to Lob City back in the day. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. Oh, ask Grant. He's DeAndre's best friend. You know that story that Grant, DeAndre was at, he was at a live final. Like every once in a while, they would have like a special guest or somebody in the league or just some athlete, and Grant had him sign his forehead. Of all things, do you remember this or no?
No, well, I do know that Grant's Twitter picture is him with DeAndre.
Yeah.
That's I didn't know this. I didn't know the story behind it though.
Okay, so we'll have that conversation, but that seems, well, I don't know, man. Then they just rest them like the next 10 days or something. They don't need DeAndre Jordan, obviously. I think Jokic is fine, right? Like if this game mattered, he would be playing tonight. It's just, he's just being out of this world and just playing ridiculous. And it's just a spot you look on the calendar and say, this seems like a good spot on the road, 3rd and 4 nights, back to back, check. Oh, and just for fun, DeAndre is going to be in LA. Let's talk about the other LA team, the Lakers. They are in Philly. 231.5 is the total. It's a pretty big number. They're 5-point dogs. There are some stars in this game. You got, Joel Embiid, you have Anthony Davis, you have LeBron, who I guess is he still officially questionable, but come on, I assume he's playing. And then I don't know, Tyrese Maxey. He's not like. Remember, I asked you a couple years ago, maybe it was last year. I'm like, is Donovan Mitchell a star? Maxey's kind of in that Donovan Mitchell.
No,
right?
you said superstar, Dean.
Superstar. Okay, that's fair. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I think you were saying he's a star without a superstar, which is probably the right answer. And then he went out and put up like 80 points that night. It was incredible.
Yeah, that one night. Yeah, he did.
So Maxey's a star, but not a superstar, right? He's a fantasy star, if nothing else.
I think he's going to be a superstar. I don't think he's a superstar yet.
Okay, I'm not sure he's going to be a superstar. Is Tyrese Maxey a guy that's going to help a team a ton as far as getting wins? I don't know. I'm not saying he's bad. I think he's good. I don't. It depends how many people you let in your superstar level too, which invites a whole. Let us know in the chat. Is Tyrese Maxey a superstar? Star, sure, and not a fantasy one, like a superstar. If not now, at some point, will Tyrese Maxey? Let's run a poll. Producer Steve, he's throwing all sorts of things up in chat. Let's have a poll. Is Tyrese Maxey either now a superstar or on his way to becoming a superstar? Okay. Lakers are popping. We're assuming 8-man rotation with the exception of a couple hedge minutes there. So how much are you prioritizing Lakers? How much Lakers is too much Lakers? What are we doing here as far as the Lake show?
So, it really depends on what you want to do with the rest of your team. If you want to go with those DeAndre Jordan, Justin Holiday type pieces, then you can go Anthony Davis or LeBron. Personally, I kind of like going the D'Angelo Russell or Austin Reeves approach because I think I'm going to be building my lineup a little bit more balanced. But I think getting to at least one Laker is a very, very good idea. I might even make a rule, like if I was making 20 or so lineups, to have mid one Laker, just because they're only going to play 8 guys, maybe 2 minutes of Maxwell Lewis, but really it's going to be 8 guys. Really, 7 of them or even 6 of them are going to get the bulk of the work. So I might make min one Lakers, and my favorite would be D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, dollar for dollar, we're actually seeing Reeves getting a tick more as far as ownership. The projection's essentially the same, and Reeves is just a little bit less if you need that $100. But you're saying raw points, you'll take Russell.
It's because he's got multi-position eligibilities. He's shooting guard, small forward, so it's easier to play Reeves.
Good point.
But I prefer Russell straight up, but they're pretty close. As
like punt pieces go, how do we feel about Max Christie? Max Christie, we're projecting to play about 30 minutes or so, which is a lot. Speaking of low usage, it's not, Justin Holiday levels, but it's 14%, which is not appealing. It's 0.63 as far as his fantasy points per minute, which is also not very strong. And that's going to happen when you're playing alongside, Russell and LeBron and Davis. Nobody says, hey, we got to get Christie some more shots. He's got to run this offense. But as punt plays go, where do you have Christie? Is he somebody that you're willing to play? You said you're going to play at least one Laker. He's obviously not the first one you want in, but salary does matter at some point. Where is he for you? And then I guess there's Taurean Prince, who's not a full flat-out punt, but we're expecting him to start and play 32 minutes as well. He's 4.6 on DK. Even worse fantasy points per minute, 0.54. Usage.
I might exclude Taurean Prince if I was going to do that min one Laker rule, and then exclude Prince from that. But yeah, Max Christie, he's mediocre value. Certainly nobody that I'm going to prioritize. Like you said, very, very small usage. We do have projected for 32 minutes, which is a ton. But this value tonight, I think, is just awful. So it's like I don't want to play these guys. It's just too bad because Joel Embiid is in such a good spot. He's just been crushing. But if you play Embiid, then you have to play some of these really, really, really garbage value plays. So it's tough. It's really kind of it's a tough slate, but I think I'm going to have to say no to Christie.
Yeah, I mean, you're also when you're saying you're not going to play Christie and the likes of Christie and those kind of players, the Holidays of the world, DeAndre Jordan. I guess we'll talk about that more later on. We talk about Denver. You're also saying I really hope players like Davis and LeBron and Embiid and Halliburton don't put up like 75 points because that's it's almost like a 2v2, which is the conversation.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. If they only go for like 60, you're in great shape. You're in like fabulous shape. If one of those guys completely breaks the slate, you're going to be in trouble. But Embiid's going to have to go for 65 at least to really hurt you. Would you say that's right, Dean?
60, yes. You kind of want him, I guess, in your cash games at 60. You don't need him in tournaments. If you have him in tournaments, right, you want him to get at least 65. And by the way, he's projected for 62 as a median projection. So this isn't like an insane number.
Right.
And like that's the thing. If Embiid and Christie combine for 90 points and it's like 75-15, like Christie didn't really kill you. Like he didn't help you, but he helped you get the guy that helped you. so it's like I mean, and now you might be able to find a couple guys in the middle at get you 45 and 45, like maybe, but it's a little bit thinner. There's one of my favorites, and I'm curious where he's going to land as far as ownership when we get that settled. But there's a play I've been looking for player props for him all day long, and the bunch of cowards, these sports books, nobody has them posted anywhere. Maybe it's changed since I've gone on air. But Jaylen Duren, I think he's got an incredible spot, and I'm not the only one because I was looking at the lineup HQ stuff, and he was basically getting the rainbow. Like everybody was tagging him from Squirrel. Well, I mean, I know Noto, Squirrel, and Taylor, and Bobby, and Kirkwood all did tags today, so several of them were on top of it as well. All right, so give me the rundown. Prioritize the Lakers, your top three. Big spend. You prefer LeBron versus Davis, whichever one kind of works. I don't know if you have a preference amongst those two, and then jump over to Philly.
Yeah, I prefer AD over LeBron. I prefer Russell over Reeves, but any of those four guys are firmly in play. And I guess Christie, if he's like a last piece, he's okay. I would not play Torrent Prince in this matchup at that price. So that would be it for me for Lakers.
Okay. Philadelphia. I want to give it one more refresh in case anything changed. Maybe, obviously, the closer we get the lock on this, the more they tinker with it, the more they get it as accurate as possible. But Philadelphia, as far as ownership now, we're seeing 19% for Embiid. Melton's getting 19%. Maxey, who may or may not be a superstar coming up. We'll see. The chat's going to have a say on that. We have a poll there running currently. I voted no for the record. Where's the current standings? Currently, no is ahead, 57% to 43. It's the super. Star, sure, but it's the super. Not a superstar. Okay. Yeah, so Harris getting 8%, everybody else under 10%. Maxey getting 13, Melton getting 18, Embiid 19. And from it sounds like you're working the mid-tier, so maybe you're not going to get to Embiid. But I suppose if you're going to tinker after the show or even on air, if you can do a little multitasking, you're probably not upset if you land on Embiid, if you're okay with everything else. How much are we prioritizing Embiid and the rest of the Sixers?
It's really just Embiid for me. I really don't have that much interest in any of the other Sixers. Maxey's kind of at that funny price point. Don't really love Tobias in this spot. I think Melton's okay. He's getting a lot more ownership than I thought he would, but I think he's okay at 6K. He's definitely part of that balanced build approach that I like. But it's really just Embiid. If you want to go stars and scrubs, then it's Embiid. If you don't, then it's nobody from Philly. You're on mute, Daniel.
Unbelievable. I was so shocked. Your boy, Broccoli Boy, got out of line in chat. You had to silence him? Is he
yeah.
Is he going to be okay? Do we have to put him in timeout?
I did. I timed him out.
Unbelievable. This is why you block him on Twitter. See, it wasn't an outlier. He deserved it. He had it coming for sure. Anything else as far as Lakers Philly before we move on?
No, we got to talk about this next game. This next game is super important.
Okay. So it's Washington, the Wizards, 236.5 is a total. Detroit's 119.5 as far as their team total. They are 2.5-point favorites. Do you want to guess combined how many losses do the Wizards and Pistons have combined in a row? I'm talking about.
Oh, in a row?
How many losses in a row do they have? Combined, Detroit and Washington. You didn't know
18?
There was going to be questions.
18?
I believe it's 22 or 23. I think Detroit's
right,
lost 13 in a row.
I wasn't too far off.
Somebody's got to win. This is the toilet bowl, whatever sort of term you want to give it. But these two teams have been horrendous. I think Detroit's lost 13 in a row, and Washington's lost like 8 or 9 in a row. So it's like 22, somewhere around there. It's not good. Ownership wise, it seems like some of the ownership might have shuffled away from this game a little bit with the new batch. I'm kind of surprised. I would love it if Jaylen Duren is around 16%. That's what we're currently seeing him. That's what was kind of teased. And, this is the incredible matchup for him against this Washington team. Washington allows the most opponent total rebounds per game by almost 3 full rebounds more than the second worst team. They allow the second most points in the paint outside of Indiana, which is a crazy outlier. We'll talk about that as well. And then, what is it, like 90, 91, 92% of Jaylen Duren's points come from, where do they come from? Well, the paint. So, this is an incredible matchup. The tricky part, if there is a tricky part, He came back from injury. They only played him 29 minutes, but like that's still pretty good. That's still a pretty fair bit of minutes. They gave him 29. I think there's room for a little bit more. I think there's a chance he plays 30, 31. We'll see. There was talk of maybe Bogdanovich coming back, making his debut. It's not happening. He's still out. Joe Harris is still out. Monty Morris, I think, might be out for the season. As far as Washington, what do we have for Washington? Washington. Yeah, I'm confusing my teams. I was thinking Indiana. I have those two teams together in my head. Jordan Poole is questionable. We don't know about his ankle. I think we'll get clarity.
He's the game time decision.
Yeah. Crunch time is going to find out if we don't find out. Like, again, I'm not mad at Washington for this one because it legitimately, he just got hurt warming up at 7:02. And that's, what are you going to do? Force the guy to play? Also, you're the Wizards. You don't care. So we'll see. Do we have an if then? I think we do, right, for Poole. So if he doesn't go, do we have any positive DK values? We have Denny Avdija, who would turn into a positive DK value, projected for 34 DK at 32 minutes. Kuzma, 42 DK at 32 minutes. I think Kispert is the guy that's most likely to jump in the starting lineup and play 30 minutes. Not a screaming value, kind of a small negative value, but he's fine. Gafford's fine. He's also a center. But you want to play the if-then game with Washington first as far as Poole. If he plays, I think he's going to get a fair bit of ownership. We're looking at, 17%. He will be the most popular player on Washington. Let's knock out Washington first.
Yeah, definitely Jordan Poole. This is by far my favorite game on the entire slate. I know it is pretty much for everybody, but I mean, I don't know how you don't get to multiple pieces of this game. It could be Jordan Poole. It could be Avdija, Kuzma, Gafford, I think is a strong play. You could take a flyer on Tyus Jones as a really, really, really deep GPP play. But really all five Wizards to me are firmly in play. Jordan Poole is obviously my favorite, probably followed by Avdija, and then Kuzma I think is a little bit too cheap on FanDuel.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all really, really, really strong plays. This game is going to be a shootout, and I want to get to like 4 pieces of this game in my single entry team.
Yeah, so I want to rerun stuff. By the way, we did get another ownership batch a couple minutes ago. So again, hit the refresh to get the most updated update when it comes to ownership. Are they still tinkering with projected minutes? They may or may not be. Yeah, it looks like that was just adjusted about 10 minutes ago as well, too. There's one, we'll talk about it. I'm taking umbrage. I'm taking the projection team does an incredible job. You don't point it out when they do it right, but and maybe this is right. I feel like I know better on one of them. I'm curious to get your take. I believe it's in the next game. How about Detroit? Are you on board with, Jaylen Duren at 29 minutes or so against this Washington team? It feels like he's just going to annihilate them on the inside. Cunningham has been bad, but he's better fantasy than he is real life. He's been bad for the team, right? He's part of the reason why they're losing. He's just not been very good, but he can compile a bunch of fantasy points. It's a good matchup as well. If you're stacking this game up, I think he's one of the more popular pieces to have on the Detroit side. He's not the same price. It's a discount from, the Laker-Philadelphia game as far as their stars. Yeah, Ivy we're seeing at 19%. Pretty fair price there against Washington. Anybody against Washington. They're all getting the notations, by the way. Ivy, Duren, Cunningham, even Isaiah Livers, which talk to me about that one, because that's another one of those cheapies that's like hitting optimals. He's kind of doing the same thing that the dude for the Lakers was doing. It's like getting you 15 points. He's projected for 17 points at 24 minutes. Isaiah Livers, that is. And that could be usable if the big spends do their thing, really do their thing. But it's also pretty thin. Thoughts as far as Detroit? How are you prioritizing these guys? Ivy, Duren, Cunningham, they all look appealing to me. I don't know if I want to play Livers. I guess I can, but I'm not happy about it.
Jordan Poole available to play.
That's what I figured. Okay, good.
Yeah,
that makes it a little easier.
Yeah, so I don't really have much interest in Livers, to be honest with you. I think there's better value pieces that you can get to. So if you want to go that route of going, cheap plays, then go somewhere else. I love Jaden Ivey. He's my favorite play on Detroit, followed by Duren. Duren's an absolute smash. The Washington Wizards are not only horrible defensively, but they're also horrible rebounding the ball. So Duren should absolutely crush in this spot. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is Asar Thompson's ownership, 7%.
Love him.
If that really holds, that is a spectacular GPP play. Like, he could go for 50 DraftKings points pretty easily in this spot. So he would make a really good leverage play off of a guy like Ivy, off of a guy like Duren. I'm shocked that Stewart's getting more ownership than Thompson, but I like all 5 of the projecting starting Pistons.
So Asar Thompson can really get going on FanDuel and when his stocks get right for one night. So the opponent, Washington, they give up the 4th most blocks. They're blocked the 4th most amount of times. And Detroit gives up the most steals per game to opponents. So, yeah. By the way, this is sort of interesting.
He's gonna be 2% on FanDuel.
Yeah, you want to be over that in tournaments and in single entry stuff. Like, if that's anywhere even close to accurate, if it's like 7% or 10%, still love it. But it's just funny. We're playing 10 teams are playing tonight. There are 3 teams that are tied giving up the most amount of steals per game at 9.3 precisely. Detroit, Utah, and Portland. There you go. So all 3 teams are playing, and they're all bad teams. Shockingly, the teams that give up a lot of steals all happen to be really, really bad as well. Anything about Livers? Speaking of like usage, 13.5%.
I'm all set with Livers. I'm all set with him.
I mean, you're going to give a little bit more because of the matchup, but 13.5% usage, fantasy points per minute on the season, 0.48. Yeesh. That is, I mean, look, this is what the slate is giving us, I suppose, right? But yeah, my single entry lineup is almost definitely going to have Jaylen Duren in it, and he's currently at 18%. And I hope it doesn't get. I mean, if that's kind of where it settles, I want to run a couple more optimal stuff before we kind of get going. But and because people tend to play their quote unquote cash lineup or their optimal lineup, maybe an optimal plus. Right, in those single entry, 3 entry stuff, they don't tend to be that ambitious as a whole, as a collective. The good stuff rises. This is so wild. I just did the very first lineup I did, and by the way, I had some variants and all that, so grain of salt, whatever. But I have 5 Lakers and 3 Denver Nuggets hitting the first lineup I just ran. Like, that's outrageous. And I think,
right.
And you can't do that. Like, you can't make that lineup for a tournament. You have to put in some parameters. Like, it just seems like you're a wild man if you do that. That makes no sense.
You said there was 3 Nuggets on that team.
Justin Holiday with an 19 point projection. Michael Porter with a 41 point projection, and DeAndre Jordan's got a 23 point projection, which is really, if that's what it gets you, a 3.2K. I know there's centers. We talk about that, but that looks really, really strong. Shockingly, 5 Lakers. Like, no way I'm running out 5 Lakers. They all look good individually. Max Christie, whatever. But, LeBron, Davis, Reeves, Russell, all are fine to good. But, I would definitely cap that. We got to get a move on because we have crunch time coming in about 15 minutes or so. But I think we get a good sort of overall thoughts when it comes to the slate. And, obviously, whatever we miss, whatever we want to talk about, they're going to focus on. They're going to go around the horn. Give their favorite players position by position on FanDuel, on DK from a cash perspective, from a tournament perspective. Portland, Indiana, which, this should be a really good DFS game in theory. 239.5 is a total. Portland is also playing on the back half of a back-to-back. They're also traveling. They are 12-point dogs to the Pacers as far as who is in, who is out in this one. Naismith expected to be available for Indiana, so they are fully good to go. And Portland is, this is the one I can't wrap my head around this one, and I'm curious to get the Brogdon thing. Did we move his minutes, or is he still at 33? I couldn't believe Brogdon was projected at 33 minutes. I will take the under in that. 34. Like I can't get behind. He's on his revenge tour. He revenged his ass off last night in Milwaukee. He smashed.
Yeah.
And now another revenge game for him. But have they not learned their lesson, Portland, with Robert Williams? And then earlier in the year, Brogdon got hurt. You're going to run this dude into the ground in a meaningless game on a back-to-back against a team you're going to.
Every game they play is meaningless.
Okay, but Brogdon's not meaningless. Brogdon actually has value. You can trade this guy for theoretically something, and they almost definitely will at some point, right? I don't understand. He projects well, and I get why he projects well if you give him 34 minutes. But, and again, the projection team does a fabulous job, incredible job. Don't say it enough. But maybe you tell me otherwise. We're giving him 28% ownership, 34 minutes. I don't think he plays more than like 31, 32. Can he play 34? I guess if everything, all the stars line up, I suppose. But I would say 31, maybe 32 is a median projection. And that matters. These few minutes do matter. But you tell me. Brogdon and Portland, I do think DeAndre Ayton's kind of interesting just to exploit, how bad Indiana is in the paint. But it's also DeAndre Ayton, and he's not a lot of fun on the roster. What do you got in Portland? Are you with me on Brogdon?
What about Jeremy Grant? No, I'm not with you about Brogdon. I think 34.
You're playing
projecting him. Yeah. 100%. Okay. Yeah. And I also think Jeremy Grant super interesting also for tournaments at like 4.5%. This game's gonna be a track meet. If the Pacers don't blow them out, this game's gonna absolutely shoot out, and Jeremy Grant is gonna be like a huge factor in that at 4.5%. So I really like him. But yeah, I am playing Brogdon in my single entry team. I think he's a must play in cash games also. Yeah, I don't agree, but you could be
right. That's fine. So yeah, TJ's in chat. The Taylors are coming on in about 10 minutes or so. TJ's talking about he's defending the number. And look, I slide to the DMs. I will happily wager. I know TJ's got plenty of loonies and toonies these days. He's been crushing it these days. Showdown slate, all sorts of different slates. I will wager many American dollars, Canadian dollars, loonies, toonies that he's going to play less than 34 minutes tonight. And that's a median projection. I will play less than 34 minutes. I'm happy to do that. I will stand by my take, which may be terrible. It might be terrible. We'll see. Stay tuned. It's a median projection, and I think it goes under. Indiana, Halliburton. He's really good at basketball. Oh, somebody said in chats. Oh, never mind. I missed that. I apologize. Let's talk about Indiana. Halliburton's a star. He's a stud. He's a superstar. He's a legit superstar. I think he is. You tell me otherwise. But he's only going to get 11% ownership against Portland. Because why? I mean, I guess salary is a thing, but if this game stays close.
If this game stays close, he's going to be unbelievable. But he's getting such low ownership because of guys like Embiid, LeBron, Anthony Davis, other guys later that we haven't talked about from the Clippers. So he's kind of like that stud that gets kind of squeezed out in terms of ownership. I think he's fine for tournaments. Obviously, this is a fantastic matchup. Do you like him more than Embiid is kind of the question. And really, the answer has to be no, I think. But that's what
unless you like other centers. You can roster two centers, but there's an opportunity cost a little more. I think the centers as far as point guards, I think.
Right.
But it's a 2v2 question. So, but it's a great question to ask. And you might be right. I don't really have a strong take on it. I have not built just yet because I knew we were going to get news on the fly, and we'll figure it out when we get off air. But just in theory, if Halliburton's going to be 10-11% owned here versus Portland, I'm happy to get to more than that. Not that I make a lot of lineups, but if you land at Halliburton, you're not upset.
I think Bruce Brown is somewhat interesting as a mid-range play, playing at the small forward position. He's only going to be 10%. Buddy Hield is still way too cheap on FanDuel, so he's definitely your FanDuel guy over there. But yeah, this is Indy's a really tough team for me to kind of break down because they're all in really good spots if the game stays close.
In the chat, they're talking about Halliburton might be too expensive. He's taken a huge leap this year. He was awesome last year. He's even more than awesome this year. 1.61 fantasy points per minute. That is elite territory. Yeah. His usage is over 26%, 26.58 if you want to get all technical. It's not fluky. If the double doubles on layaway, almost definitely you're going to rack up at least 10 plus assists. Nobody has more. What is assist total every single game is 10.5 and 11.5 these days. It's only not going to go lower than that versus Portland. I would just put a little caution on Hield on DK because that price is baked up and he's shooting out of his mind. And he didn't all of a sudden turn in to the greatest shooter of all time in these last 3 games. 3 for 6, 7 for 12, 6 for 8, 6 for 6 from 3. And if he's not making his threes, it can be rough. And he also can get kicked off the court. So I don't think I'm getting the Hield on DK. On FanDuel, probably cash games just because his price. But I don't think I'm going there as far as Hield. Now, of course, he can make 5 or 6 or 7 and keep it going, and eventually he's going to catch up with him, and not tonight. But just throw a little caution out there. I think Scoot is a little bit interesting too. If this game blows out,
Scoot's the guy. If this game blows out, he's gonna crush his price tag.
And definitely. If Brogdon's minutes are a little bit too high.
Yeah, all right, we'll see.
So yeah, I think Scoot is an interesting play here. Maybe I'm just too stubborn and I'm buried on this take. I'm pot committed to this take, I guess is the better way of saying it. And I would have gone 1 for 1. My 2 big takes was the Brogdon thing and the Jokic wasn't going to play, but that one's already been spoiled. So I don't even credit for it. And I didn't bet it either. So upsetting. Yeah. Anything else here we should magnify before we knock out these last 2? The crunch time crew coming in soon enough.
No, I think we should go to the next 2.
Okay. All right. This is New Orleans, Utah. They're running it back. The sequel really as good as the original. 232.5. Utah is a 6-point dog here. We are projecting the starting lineup for Utah to be Clarkson, Fontecchio, Keontae George, John Collins, and Walker Kessler. We saw Walker Kessler come back from his injury. He did not start, but he still he didn't close either. I'm pretty sure Yurtseven closed. Yurtseven drew the start, and I don't know, man. Like Yurtseven's not. I think that was just like first game back. We'll see. Yurtseven, pretty good fantasy point better player for what it's worth, and he does start. He becomes pretty interesting, but I don't think he starts. I don't think we're not projecting him to start, right? But that's the thing with Utah is they play a bunch of guys like 26, 27, 28 minutes, and they're all sorts of annoying. Outside of if Clarkson plays, he can play 32, I guess. But yeah, what do you got as far as the Jazz? And we'll talk about New Orleans in a second. New Orleans, there's a chance. Wait, did I not see a note that McCollum is a small chance he might come back tonight with his lung? Or is that not happening?
I did not see that.
Okay. Let me just go ahead and check. I don't think I made that up. I thought I saw that in the Twitter machine. But yeah, talk to me about the Jazz.
Yeah, the Jazz, I think they spread out their minutes a little bit too much. I think their prices are really not conducive for a ceiling. This matchup is not amazing. Like you said, their rotation is 10, 11 deep. So I honestly, I don't know. I don't think I'd play any of these Jazz players tonight. I would play Kelly Olynyk on FanDuel because he has power forward eligibility, but he's center only on DK. So I'm not going to waste the center spot on Kelly O. So that would be the only play. I kind of like John Collins' price a little bit on FanDuel also, but on DK, I think these guys are X out buttons for me.
So Shams did say that McCollum could return Wednesday. It's not Wednesday. It's Monday. So yeah, he's not playing tonight. My bad. I knew I saw a note and I'm like, yeah, okay. So CJ not playing tonight. Somebody said he's in the G League. I guess he's in a little rehab stint there, getting right. Hope, he can go back and forth, that kind of thing. Hopefully there's no issues in that rehab and he's good to go. We'll see him on Wednesday nights. But yeah, it's interesting that I think Zion's a really strong play, but he's I want to say he's kind of lost in this slate, but he's still grabbing 24%, and he's gonna smash.
Yeah.
So John Collins, noted defender John Collins, Kelly O, Walker Kessler's a pretty good rim protector. I'll give him that. But otherwise, Zion feels like he's gonna smash. But I hope you're sitting down. I don't know if you're sitting down or not. LeBron is gonna play. LeBron, did not know. He's gonna play tonight with his calf. Forget about that Q tag. Denver and the Clippers, 215 is the total. 10 points. Now, 10 points as far as the spread. We've talked about this throughout the show already. Plenty. No Joker, no Gordon, no Murray. Peyton Watson did have an illness, but he's expected to be available, as did Hunter Tyson. No, he's questionable. They must have had lunch together or something. I don't know. The Clippers are fully healthy with the exception of Mason Plumlee. Yeah, so I was thinking before about Daniel Tice, if you want to get super weird. He's been really good for this Clipper team in his limited run. If you want to play the blowout angle, he's been playing really good PNR stuff with Westbrook. And this is like get weird tournament stuff. I'm sure TJ and Taylor probably have thoughts on it when they jump on here. I'm not running enough lineups, I don't think, to get there, unless I want to like mess around and like play catch up, somehow if I'm leaving salary, if I'm a 2v2, and I'll consider it. But yeah, Denver versus the Clippers. And we have to talk, I guess the main thing is the Denver quote unquote value pieces. Justin Holiday, hold your nose. 44% ownership for DeAndre Jordan. Holiday's getting 22%, Porter 25%, RJax 15%, KCP 14%. And that's the thing. Like KCP is going to like be hurt with the lack of Jokic, right? Just Jokic gets him incredible shots. It's
and
weird
he's not exactly
not
exactly cheap either. He's 5,600, so KCP is definitely a no for me.
And he's not a guy that creates his own stuff. Yeah. So talk about Denver.
Yeah.
What are we doing with this DeAndre Jordan? We've touched on it several times.
I think on DK at least you can play Jordan because you can still go double center. I guess he's fine. I'm not really crazy about him in large field GPPs though. I'm definitely not crazy about Justin Holiday in large field GPPs. I can tell you that much. I doubt he's going to have much of a factor in this game other than just being on the court. MPJ, I love. He's definitely going to be in my single entry team tonight on both FanDuel and DK. I'm kind of conflicted about Reggie Jackson. He's not exactly cheap, but he's a guy that could potentially break his price tag and, maybe put up like 40 DraftKings points. So if this game doesn't blow out. So I think Reggie Jackson is at least a little bit interesting.
Jeremy asked in chat, Ingram or Zion, who's the better play? Oh, they're both pretty good. I don't think. Okay.
I think it's Zion.
And your favorite cheapie on the Denver side, you said like get weird play.
I think
Strother.
Oh yeah. The weird play is definitely Strother, but my favorite like value play on Denver is DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, I got Christian Brown in there too. I think he's kind of sort of someone interesting. Like I'm pretty. I would play him before KCP. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
he's more likely to mop up to some degree if this game gets ugly. But all right, we got the Taylors. We have Roth. TJ, did you hear my challenge? I dropped the gauntlet. Are we going to make a wager?
I'm playing 150 lineups and single entry and on crunch time, so a minute's wager on Malcolm Brogdon isn't really in the highest of priorities for me this evening.
If you listen really closely, I don't know if you guys can hear it. I mean, can you guys hear TJ backtracking? Can you guys hear it? I hear it. Do you hear it, Tim, Rolf? You guys?
That's actually just because you have very poor reading comprehension, because I never mentioned anything about a bet in the chat. I just said not all NBA coaches are very smart.
Look, you want me to read while I'm on the show? It's called multitasking, TJ.
You want me to make a minutes bet with you when I'm playing 150 lineups and on a show? Stop being such a hypocrite, Dean.
You could have said yes and we'd be done with it a minute ago and it was over. And I'd say, hi, Rob.
What's the bet? Right. I'm in. I got TJ's side. I'll take the bet for him, Dean. How about that? I'll jump in. He's my champion. I will take the bet for him.
E2,
I'm his champion.
I did, by the way, this will be the first time I took money from Roth because I did wager on Draft Cheats push-ups. No, not Draft Cheat. Jonathan Bale's push-ups. Remember this, Roth? During the times of COVID? Remember wagering on a man doing push-ups on a...
Who won?
Bale's had to do like 6,000 push-ups or something silly in like
I remember
an 8-hour
that.
period.
But who won the bet, me or you?
I did.
Did I pay up?
I wouldn't bring it up. Yeah, of course you paid up. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
I have ADD. I forget things. Like I make bets and then forget, and then people feel awkward. Like, all right, just making sure we're square, Dean. I'm
doubling it down. No, I would have slid in the DMs and be like really angry months ago. I would have held a grudge forever. So we're betting on Malcolm Brogdon minutes. It's such a stupid thing to bet on now, but you're 34 minutes is the over/under, and you got the over on Malcolm Brogdon, who's 97 years old. He's on the trade block. He's playing the back half of a back-to-back. And they're probably going to get blown out. How do you feel about that?
It doesn't sound like a great spot. It doesn't sound like a great spot.
It was never a bet. It was never a bet.
Well,
you don't have to take it, Kevin, because that wasn't my side.
I'm not.
I was just saying Dean was saying that Portland, there's no way they're going to keep extending him these minutes. He played 30 plus last week. There's no way he does it again. And I'm just saying, you can't base it on what you think these coaches should do. You have to base it on what they've been doing.
I didn't say there's no way. I said as a median projection, I would not median project him for 34 minutes.
All
I said
right,
if all the stars
Who's
align,
backtracking now,
minutes.
Dean?
No, just check the
minutes
tape.
until
Producer
lock,
Steve,
please.
play the tape.
Did he just dip out, or did he get booted?
Oh no, I think I'm still here, but we should go.
Right.
You guys got 5 games, plenty of time to knock it out. Tim, I need the player that breaks the slate, and I need the exact minutes and seconds that Malcolm Brogdon plays tonight.
Well, Brogdon's going to play 35 minutes, and
Ooh.
Asar Thompson is going to break the slate.
All right, I'm going to say Brogdon plays 30 minutes and 37 seconds, and we have let's see, you got Asar, and I love the Asar call. I'm going to go to, I guess, the kind of more obvious one, and Jaylen Duren. Jaylen Duren puts up at least a 15-15, several blocks, has a good time there versus the Wizards. Myself and Tim, we do thank you for watching the first portion. Roth and the Taylors will take you home for crunch time. Hit that like button. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time. It's sponsored by Fanduel. You know the drill. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz. My guy Taylor in the house. What up, Taylor?
Not much. Happy to be back. Cool little 5-game slate tonight. So
You like it. You like the 5-gamer.
yeah, I think like 5 to 8 is kind of where it's at. Anything above or below is kind of wild, I think.
Interesting. Okay, very nice. We got TJ as well, who has already said he's got 150 lineups in. He's got single entry in. He might have sports betting, and he's probably watching 4 movies tonight. What's up, TJ?
I've already watched 2 movies today.
Nice.
I know more tonight probably because I'll be tuning into the NBA, watching the NFL game, making sure I'm watching the RotoGrinders pre-lock show for the NFL game as well, because I'm also running 150 over there with a few other bigger tournament lineups. So looking forward to this slate as well. I agree with Taylor. I like this one quite a bit today.
Very good. Speaking of movies and shows, I'm never the guy to go to for good shows because I don't watch a lot. But I started watching Murder at the Edge of the World or something. Have you heard of this? I think it's on.
Heard of
Hulu.
it, haven't seen it, but looks
Pretty good. I'm only halfway through, so it might end up sucking. I think it's episodic, but pretty good. I recommend it. Check it out, TJ. Do a blog on it. Get your people on it, man. All right, hey, let's talk about the slates here in general. By the way, if you're watching the show, don't let me know in the chat. I don't want to feel all alone, like I'm the only person in the world watching it. Let's discuss here what we're doing. TJ, are you gonna be my cash guy or my GPP guy?
I'll let Taylor decide because I'd rather tournaments, but I don't feel so strongly about it that if he's like prepared for one of them, then I'll just concede.
Yeah, I can do cash if you want to do tournaments. That's fine.
Then let's do it. Let's jump right into it. You mentioned 5 games. You said you like it. Why don't we walk through a little kind of cash build on FanDuel? And if there's any big notes, like macro-wise, that you want to say first, feel free and get that out as well.
Yeah, so we got the news that Jokic is out, which was obviously huge. We're going to be playing a lot of Denver tonight, presumably. Let's see, Jordan Poole's playing, LeBron's playing, AD's playing. The Jokic one was obviously the big one. We have this Wizards-Detroit game where the teams have combined to lose like 23 in a row or something like that, and that should be a pretty good source
Outrageous. Are they going to score
fantasy
300 points
tonight.
because of the pace, or are the teams so shitty that they can't score?
Yeah,
300
like that's the
points?
thing. Like either they could
Yes.
go off for like 320, or it could be like just a shit fest where they both
Right.
score like 80. You know,
Good
But,
times. Good times.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to deal with that. But yeah, so Harden's in the game. 10-6 on FanDuel. He's easier to afford now that we have Denver guys than he was earlier today. So I'm interested in that. Obviously, it's a great game environment, potentially. That's a different game. Sorry, they're playing Portland. That's another that's a 12-point game spread-wise. Indiana should be on the right side of that if it blows out. So I think he's fine either way. Not sure he's a must in cash. Going with the bad game, Cade Cunningham at 8K flat's fine. He kind of does everything for that team. The Washington defense is abysmal. Don't mind that in any format. I think as far as cash goes, you can go with Reggie Jackson. Like we said, they're without Jokic. He should see plenty of usage. Revenge, if you like revenge. Malcolm Brogdon, like we were just talking about, kind of a source of controversy, but 34-minute projection, scoots back, but Indiana, I think, allows the most points per game in the league, and they rank first in pace. So Brogdon, assuming he's still starting, is pretty good for 77 on FanDuel. I think that's definitely a guy you playing cash.
You mentioned Scoot is back. Do we have interest there at playing him, or have they said he's on a firm minutes limit type deal?
We have him at 26 minutes. He's 51. I think it's okay, especially if you want to kind of play for the Blazers get blown out angle. He should see more minutes in that scenario, but I think they are taking it easy on him. So in cash, it's probably not something I would do, but tournaments for sure.
All right. Keep rolling.
Shooting guard, KCP, 5K flat. I guess just because the value's kind of sketchy in some spots, you can do that, but he's got a low ceiling and a low floor. So I think it is more of a cash play than a GPP play. Brogdon, you can play. Buddy Hield, still super cheap on FanDuel. Aaron Nesmith is going to play, but Buddy's still at 29 minutes. He should be fine in that role. And then for the minimum, Justin Holiday, probably a staple in your cash lineups on FanDuel, just because he's the minimum. Aaron Gordon's also out in addition to Jokic, so you should see around 30 minutes, even as a bad per minute guy. Small forward, MPA, Noto has him as a core play. Totally agree. Should see most of the use with Jokic and Gordon out for this team. There's blowout risk. They're now 10-point dogs at the Clippers, but 6,900, totally cool with that. Bruce Brown, another guy. He might be more of a tournament guy. His per minute rate's not very good this season, but Indiana has the highest total on the slate. The minutes are usually there for him. So I think that makes sense in cash. Zion's a guy I've had tagged on lineup HQ all day long. He's always too cheap on FanDuel. Utah is kind of Indiana, just bad. Bad defense, played a fast pace. Zion at a reasonable salary is a good play there. Kelly Olynyk, you can play him at power forward on FanDuel, which is helpful. They're without Markkanen tonight, so I think that's a decent play in all formats. And then Kuzma, maybe, kind of like a Benji cat play at a power forward. And then at center, I think it's either Jordan or Duren. If you have the money, it's Duren. If you want to punt, it's Jordan. You don't really need to punt both. You have to have Jordan and Justin Holiday. I think Jordan's the safer play, but one of those two guys for sure in cash.
Very nice. TJ, that we will turn it over to you now. What is your tournament thoughts here as you're building for FanDuel GPP, of which you are doing a lot of?
So I want to, if it's okay with you, do a little bit of a pivot of how I handle it, because the players on the two sites that I'm targeting are basically exactly the same. And so as opposed to there's a couple guys that are a little bit cheaper on FanDuel, and as a general rule, and that's kind of what I want to talk about on this slate, is more of a general strategy approach for FanDuel, and then I'll go more the position by position on DraftKings so we can get to QQs a bit quicker, since it's the same guys. But there's a couple guys on FanDuel that are a little bit cheaper than they are in DraftKings, and in general, when that's a case, they're great plays. DraftKings they're usually cheaper on DraftKings. The pricing structure is built for them to be cheaper on DraftKings. So when somebody's cheaper on FanDuel than they are DraftKings, that just makes them a really good play. And so that's kind of how I typically look at things. The FanDuel pricing is pretty loose today. And so I feel like you can really get almost any of the players that, if there's somebody you really specifically want, you can get them, because like the general rule of, hey, if they're cheaper on FanDuel, that means they're a good play. There's a lot of those guys today. So if you have a specific target, there should be ways that you can adjust your lineup to get it the way you want it. And I think this slate is small enough, even though we usually only do this on like 2 or 3 game slates. But I think this is small enough where you really want to make sure your team has some sort of stack in it and it is telling some sort of story. So if you're playing Joel Embiid today, make sure it has some Lakers because you need that game to stay close. If you're playing 4 Detroit players against Washington, maybe you got to make sure you run it back with Kuzma, have at least one Washington player. Same thing with Portland. If you want to play Malcolm Brogdon, you want to play Jeremy Grant, and you want to play Ayton or Sharp or Henderson, whoever, probably make sure you run it back with Halliburton. Maybe Henderson was a bad example because that's a better blowout play. But make sure you have some type of run back for these guys to stay close. The only one I don't think you need that, you can, but I don't think you need it, is with Denver. Denver is going to have a lot of value opening up later. We're not going to know for sure who the best plays are until we see a starting lineup. But I think Denver is going to have a lot of tournament value opening up later. And I think we can leave a couple spots open, take shots on guys like not only like Reggie Jackson, who I really like, and obviously DeAndre Jordan is really popping, but take some shots on some of these tournament guys like Julian Strother, like Peyton Reed, as long as he's playing. And if Reed's out, we're going to like some of these other guys even more. But as of right now, I have like 35% Peyton Watson, and then I'll adjust if he happens to be out. But I think he should be an absolute smash value. And so I think some of these bench players for Denver are going to go for value, are going to end up going a little bit under-owned. Even a Daniel Tice on the other side of things for the Clippers, who's been playing very well and been getting decent minutes. And then you can use that as a kind of a run back for all of your Denver value as well. Maybe more so on FanDuel, he's more expensive, but he's got the power forward eligibility. So I guess the point kind of remains, even though I like him more on DraftKings. Just make sure your lineups are telling a little bit of a story today. Make sure they have a lot of correlation, because on a 10-game slate, we don't have to worry about that almost at all, other than for like a tiny amount. On a 6 to 8 game slate, even 5, it's usually not a big deal, but it's very important today because although it's 5 games, it feels like a very, very small and contained, straightforward slate. And I think there are going to be some great pivots in tournament. Play a game to be a blowout, but then just make sure that makes sense for your lineup. If you're playing maybe a Malcolm Brogdon, a Scoot Henderson and Tyrese Halliburton mini stack, maybe that doesn't make the most sense today, because if you're playing Halliburton, you want that game to stay close. Just make sure it is telling the story with that correlation, because that's going to matter on a slate this small.
Okay. I want to get to DraftKings, but what is the story that you are telling as you build these lineups in Denver? Are we going with, okay, there's going to be a ton of usage, so like next man up, like what is it?
So
MPJ,
right now I do like MPJ a lot.
Or are you telling like the blowout story? Because it's those next guys, the higher usage guys, that in a blowout would be not getting the run, right?
So in tournaments, my favorite story to tell with that is the blowout, because right now on both sites, we're seeing the most ownership on Denver go to the kind of next man up starters: Michael Porter Jr., Reggie Jackson, Caldwell Pope, and DeAndre Jordan. But I really, really like Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, Julian Strother. Justin Holiday is picking up a bunch of ownership. He's a terrible point per minute guy. Play Julian Strother instead, who maybe gets a little bit less minutes, but probably wouldn't if this is a blowout. They'll let that young guy go. And so I think the Denver bench, because the Denver starters are going so highly owned today, the Denver bench would be my favorite target in tournaments for value. Play that as it turns into a blowout. I'm using the cheapies that are going lower owned there, fading the more expensive guys, and then maybe pulling some more expensive guys from some of these early games on Detroit in the mid-range, on Indiana, Portland, and New Orleans and Utah. And I'm personally a little bit lower on the Lakers and Philadelphia than most of the field seems to be. On both sides, those teams are picking up a decent amount of ownership. I think that's going to be a great real-life basketball game, but I'm going to be quite underweight on that one as a whole.
Okay, very good. Let's kick it over to DK. I should mention before I do, the show, by the way, is sponsored by FanDuel. If you bet $5 on any money line, you get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. With that, let's turn it over to a DK build. And Taylor, I will let you walk through what the core is. I'm building right now, and I don't have a lot of direction, so I need your help here.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because the cash core is a bunch of like Denver and Laker value potentially, and that's not really something you have to do in tournaments. So I think the builds kind of look quite different. Like in cash, I think you take the angle that the game is close and you just play Jordan for 3-2. You play Justin Holiday for 3-3 and hope for the best. Although I do think there's a chance Strother could maybe start for that team if they really go like balls to the wall and don't care about the game.
Right.
He's a great play. I think you can play him in cash if he starts. If he doesn't start, then you're running away from him in cash. But point guard, we can go position by position. I think D'Angelo Russell is a guy that our projections have liked all day. 6,300 on DK. Minutes have kind of fluctuated, so it's not the safest play, but I think it's fine. 7,900 for Brogdon. We talked about him on Fanduel. Melton, 6K flat, decent roll. Harden's no longer there. I think that's something you can do. Jaden Ivey is a guy that should be popping in cash, especially he starts now for the Pistons. Minutes have been up since he came into the starting lineup, so point guard, shooting guard, totally fine with that. Max Christie, another kind of like fringy per minute guy that's starting for the Lakers. They don't have Cam Reddish tonight, so you can play him at shooting guard or small forward. I think shooting guard is probably where he's best deployed tonight. Austin Reeves, same thing, shooting guard, small forward off the bench. He's sometimes closes over Russell, so I think it's fine in cash. Might be more of a tournament guy. Holiday, I mentioned, shooting guard, small forward as well for 3,300. LeBron in that game, 97 on DK. He's always kind of too cheap on DK. That's something you can do as well. Like it's the same guys that we talked about with FanDuel. It's just kind of a lot of Lakers and a lot of Nuggets on DK cash. Zion at power forward, 8,700. Better play on FanDuel, of course, but Utah is one of the better matchups on the slate. John Collins, maybe he'll start tonight. The Jazz kind of like punted the last game and won with a weird kind of out of nowhere starting lineup. The minutes for that team are all over the place. Like everyone could play like 28 and not really pop. But in cash, I think John Collins is okay, even with Kessler back. MPJ, 7,500 on DK. Core play, I think Noto has him tagged as well over here. So that's a guy you're definitely playing in cash. Should see all the usage without Jokic and without Aaron Gordon. The Clippers are interesting, kind of more in tournaments as a run back for all these Nuggets we're playing. Paul George, I think, maybe as a last piece, another guy with guard forward eligibility on DK. Kawhi has been good since Westbrook went to the bench. I think that's another guy you can consider in cash as well. And then center, like you should have the money at this point to pay for Embiid. No more Jokic, so he's like the clear-cut top play on the entire slate as far as centers go. Kelly Olynyk, not as appealing on DK, center only, but still cheap. No marketing for them tonight, so totally fine with that, especially if you don't want to play DeAndre Jordan. He's kind of the next best value at that position. And then Jaylen Duren as well. I think Noto's had him as a core play all day, so stick with that.
Very nice. Did get some questions in here that was kind of along the lines of what I was thinking with Michael Porter Jr. Is he a bad play because of blowout risk? Because he's the first guy riding pine if that game blows out. But Taylor, for cash games, you're just playing him?
I think you play him. He's going to be super high owned in cash. It's not a guarantee the game blows out. The Clippers aren't the most cohesive team these days. So I think you just kind of eat that and roll with it.
That's fair. Okay, TJ, we have not gotten your kind of position by position plays yet for tournaments. So we've got 10 minutes until lock. Why don't you run through what you like, and then we'll take some QQs as well.
Point guard position, Jaden Ivey and Malcolm Brogdon are two guys I love that you can play at either the point or shooting guard position. They're cash viable. They're tournament viable. I like them quite a bit. My big fades in terms of tournaments that I'm going with, not full fades on one of these guys, but basically compared to the field, are D'Angelo Russell and DeAnthony Melton. I have no Melton. I have about 5% Russell. And I'm going to try and get overweight elsewhere, like Reggie Jackson I like today. Cade Cunningham I love for tournaments. We're currently projecting him for 15% ownership. Feels absolutely crazy for me in a matchup against the Wizards. So love me some Cade Cunningham today. I'm getting to a lot of James Harden. We brought up Michael Porter Jr. a second ago. I do think due to his ownership in tournaments, it makes some sense to kind of fade him in lineups that you're not playing any Clippers. And then if you're playing a Harden or a George or a Kawhi, making sure that that lineup has Michael Porter Jr. in it. I think that's a really nice way to go about it. And then Tyrese Halliburton, small slate, projecting for single-digit ownership. You can get, like, he could be the highest scorer on the slate. It might not be Embiid. It might not be LeBron. It might not be any of these guys. It could be Halliburton because he is that type of guy this year. And so Tyrese Halliburton, I think, is a great tournament play as well. Getting to some Scoot for the blowouts, getting to some Dyson Daniels, and then Tyrese Maxey is another guy I like quite a bit as well. I even have a little bit of Jose Alvarado exposure. They've been giving him a few more minutes each game. CJ McCollum is out for one more game, so I think this will be our last chance to do it. But Jose Alvarado, I think, is decent value. I don't know. I have 10% right now. I might tune it to less once we get the starting lineup for the Nuggets, because that game is a little bit later, so we might have a little bit more Nuggets clarity, but it's still an hour and a half before the Nuggets game, so that's not a foregone conclusion either. Shooting guard, still a lot of Ivy, still a lot of Brogdon, but Christian Braun is a guy for the Nuggets I love. Julian Strawther, I think, is a phenomenal value today, especially if that turns into somewhat of a blowout. I think he could be like a potential 10x type fantasy player today. Going to try and be underweight on Justin Holiday since he's projecting for nearly 30%, but I want to make sure I'm getting to some Paul George, some James Harden, and then I'm using some Max Christie as well. Max Christie is actually my highest owned Laker today. If you're doing 150 lineups like I am today, I suggest getting just a pinch of Alec Burks. Both of these teams are terrible. It could go really ugly either way, but Washington plays so fast and with such bad defense. If Burks gets 18 minutes, he could have 28 fantasy points, and he's currently projecting for less than 1% owned on DraftKings. I'm getting 5% of him just to make sure I'm heavily over the field. If he goes bonkers, there's a good chance that I'm having a team near the top. So small forward, MPJ is still my highest owned, but I'm getting to a lot of, like I mentioned, Clippers in lineups with MPJ. My top three highest owned small forwards are Christian Braun, Julian Strawther, and MPJ. I'm going all Denver Nuggets at this position, basically. I really like Ouster Thompson for tournaments. The GrindersLive guys talked about him a little bit as well. Single-digit ownership, great matchup. Most of these Detroit players are going too low owned today, and they shouldn't be in a phenomenal matchup against the Washington Wizards. So for me, it's all about the Denver guys, and then I like Ouster Thompson. Don't mind me some Paul George here as well. Power forward, MPJ, Isaiah Stewart, same thing, 10% in a game against the Wizards on only a 5-game slate. Doesn't really make sense to me. I have 30%. I like Zion for tournaments. I'm going to be underweight on LeBron, which is a little bit scary. I like Kuzma in lineups that I'm loading up on Detroit. But my highest owned guy is Peyton Watson. I really like that Detroit value, that Denver value today. Again, if he happens to be out, I'll make some pivots because since I'm getting about 2 to 3 Denver players in any lineups, in every lineup, I'm going to have the flexibility. But I think it's going to be important to have that Denver flexibility in tournament today. Center, Jaylen Duren is my highest owned guy today. I am getting to a little bit of DeAndre Jordan, but I'll be underweight. And some decent pivots, I think, are Walker Kessler, Daniel Tice. And then I don't think it's crazy. We're projecting him again, sub 1%. He could end up starting. I don't think it's that crazy that we could end up seeing Zeke Naji pop into the starting lineup instead of DeAndre Jordan. But even if he's not, he's expensive. He's like 4.9. Nobody's going to play Zeke Naji or whatever he is. Maybe he's a little above 5. It's Denver without all of their best players, without their 3 best players. They could do so many wacky things today. I think Zeke Naji is another one of those guys that if you're playing 150 lineups, you want to make sure you get in just a few. He's going to be less than 1% owned. Get him in a few of these lineups so that you're if he does play extended minutes, you're good. Final guy I would want to touch on, another guy projecting for 1% on a 5-game slate, Jonas Valanciunas. Walker, like all we really care about with JV is he going to play enough minutes? And the way he does is with a center on the other team who's not super active all the time in the pick and rolls and who always just stays underneath the hoop. That's Walker Kessler. He didn't play that many minutes last game because he came off the bench. He's probably going to start today. More minutes for Walker Kessler means more minutes for Jonas Valanciunas. I think he's another guy that is great for tournaments today.
Very nice. Did get a few questions coming in. Of course, make sure you're getting those QQs in. Hit us a little thumbs up. This show is free thanks to our sponsor. They want eyeballs. Let's try to keep it free with the thumbs up. I'm going to start with Brian's question, TJ. Would you play Kuz and Poole together? That's my build. I have Poole and Kuz, and I'm bringing it back with, all those Detroit guys. Is that insane? Am I asking for too much for two inconsistent guys?
If I have at least 3 Detroit players in a lineup, I don't think that's insane.
Okay, that is what I'm doing. Make sure you get those QQs in. I'm scrolling up just a little bit here, and we'll go with Smokin' J 23 FanDuel single entry GPP. Fading the first game between Philly and Lakers. Is that a viable strategy, TJ, or am I missing out on somebody there that could put up big numbers, or rather that will put up big numbers?
I honestly think it's a great tournament strategy because to me, all those guys are going over-owned today in tournaments.
Okay, great. DK Cash question. Taylor, this one's for you. Last piece, Asar, Russell, or Reeves?
I think I'd go Russell in cash, but I do love Asar today. All are playable, but I'd go Russell personally.
Okay. Right back to the cash for you, Taylor. FanDuel cash question 2v2. Cade Kuz or AD and KCP?
Kuz, AD, KCP. I would go Cade Kuz.
Okay. FanDuel GPP. TJ, will you play Embiid? It is a simple question. Will you play Embiid?
I have 150 lineups with 13% Embiid.
Okay, so yes, to a certain degree, yes. The answer is yes. FanDuel GPP. Oh, a feel it in your plums scrub play of the day. TJ, it's the dude who's might not even be playing. Who's got the
Peyton
2
Watson. Yeah, Peyton Watson. Highest owned player today.
Yeah.
I have a boo-boo.
You have a boo-boo? Okay. I'll give a kiss.
So does Peyton Watson, and essentially, that's kind of what we're concerned with, is that he may not play because of that boo-boo. But as long as he's good, love it.
DK Cash question, Taylor. It can't be a center. I've got 6,100 left. Is it Melton, Keontae George, Ivy, or Abdia? Maybe someone else?
In cash, Ivy for sure.
Okay. More questions coming in. We got Scorekeeper in the YouTube chat. He says Healed or Reeves. Didn't mention a site or a format, but Taylor, I'll let you take that. Healed or Reeves?
Cash. Well, I don't know. I guess it's probably Reeves. He's a way better value on FanDuel, so I'd lean Reeves.
Okay, believe in Reeves. We got less than a minute until lock. Make sure you get those lineups in here. DK, GPP, TJ, last piece. Mathurin, Sexton, or Powell?
Mathurin, Sexton, or Powell. I guess Mathurin.
Okay. BK says large field GPP on DK, Davis or LeBron? Oh, that's like the age-old question. AD or LeBron, TJ? Or either? Either? Are you interested in either?
I'd go LeBron.
Okay, that's fair. Still almost to lock here. FanDuel cash. Healed Ivy or Poole Halliburton?
Healed Ivy or Poole Halliburton? That can't be right.
I'll read it as it stated. FanDuel cash. Healed Ivy, Poole, Hallie, Straw.
It's the first one, because I think he's asking 2 of those 3 players or Halliburton and Straw.
Okay.
And so you would be doing Healed and Ivy.
Thank you. That was a super confusing question. We have hit lock. I think I'm going to bounce it out of here. We got some attachment. We're in a strong attachment phase right now, so sorry about that. But Charlie, you want to say bye-bye to everybody?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. For TJ, for Taylor, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.
Bye.